little child, escorted by Father Neuritt, leaves his home to complete his daily assignments at the local church in the charming French town of Tarascon. A violent crash of shattered glass is heard as the youngster makes his way to the lower level of the church, disturbing the silence. He quickly returns in alarm to look for Father Neuritt. When they finally see Father Neuritt rising up into the air and getting engulfed in flames, they had approached the altar together with caution, their footfall resonating in the silent room. Shocked and afraid as the evil spirit of Valak comes upon them, the small kid runs from the church, leaving behind the horrific spectacle. Sister Irene, having left behind the disturbing memories of her meeting with Valak, finds herself finally in a new chapter amid the tranquil landscapes of Italy. Inside the walls of her new community, she befriends Sister Deborah, a vibrant young nun renowned for her disobedience to the seniors' established standards. Irene once overhears a senior nun telling the younger nuns about her own terrifying encounter with Valak. The elder nun is cautious not to mention Irene by name, but there's no denying that Valak's ghostly presence hovers over them all. A man named Morris, who goes by the nickname Frenchie, lives his days working at a boarding school in a different region of France. He has developed a unique relationship with Sophie, Kate's daughter, and they are good friends. Sophie is frequently the victim of bullying and taunting from her peers when she is in school, and Morris is the one who always intervenes to defend her. The powerful Madame Laurent, who is renowned for her uncompromising attitude, is in charge of the boarding school. She is strict and uncompromising. Underneath her harsh demeanor, Madame Laurent bears the burden of her own grief. She is mourning the death of her son, said Rick, a tragedy that will always be remembered. A young messenger, naive and gullible, is caught in the hands of an evil force in a nearby town. The youngster is left all alone and exposed to danger when Valak, the demonic entity, appears and towers over them in a menacing manner. The sound of cracking bones reverberates as Valak grabs the infant by the neck in a terrifying moment. Sister Irene, meantime, can't get rid of her unsettling dream. She chases Morris through a dark alley in this bizarre vision, only to come across a demon-possessed version of him. Tormented and in a desperate state, he cries out to Irene for help. Irene is called to a meeting with Cardinal Conroy and other respected church elders shortly after. She finds out there about the horrific killings of Father Neuritt and a number of other church officials who perished under enigmatic and horrifying circumstances. Irene learns to her great cost that Valak, the evil force she formerly had to contend with, has come back. Irene is requested to look into it and at first apprehensive, but she eventually accepts. Irene decides to take on the evil power once more, driven by a sense of duty and a need for knowledge. Sister Deborah, whose personal tragedy serves as her driving force for helping Irene, goes with her. The terrible fire that was started by hateful racism claimed her mother. Driven by a common suffering and a strong will to face the darkness that has overtaken them, they set out on a terrifying adventure. Sophie is approached by the once cruel girls at school, who pretend to be sorry and encourage her to play a dark game. Sophie is still traumatized by the bullying from before. They take her to a secret chapel inside the school where there are many old mysteries hidden away. They invite her to look at a mosaic of a goat inside, telling her that if she averts her gaze, the devil will pursue her. The goat's eyes in the mosaic glow a sinister red in the sunshine. Sophie witnesses a terrible vision of Valak while the girls brutally imprison her inside. Fortunately, Sophie's pleas for assistance are heard by Morris, her unwavering guardian. He answers the door quickly, gives the girls harsh criticism, consoles Sophie, and hands her over to Kate, the kind teacher. Concurrently, Irene and Deborah reach Tarascon, where their quest for clarifications brings them across Jack, the youthful observer of Father Neuritt's horrific end. In an attempt to comprehend the circumstances leading up to the catastrophe, Irene goes up to Boy, who is still terrified and who has seized a rosary from the deceased priest. But a boy avoids Irene's questions by vanishing into a hive of frolicking boys in the streets. While Sister Irene is strolling around the dimly lighted streets in the dead of night, something strange happens as she walks by what appears to be an average newsstand. Periodicals and magazines turn pages on their own, organizing themselves in a ghoulish manner that echoes the eerie figure of Valak. There's a tangible feeling of fear in the air as Irene steps closer to the unnerving exhibit. Abruptly, the lights above begin to flicker uncontrollably, creating unsettling shadows on the sidewalk. Before Irene can react, Valak appears out of the flickering darkness and attacks her non-stop. A victim of Valak's evil, the encounter leaves Irene unconscious and bruised. Irene is discovered to be unconscious by Deborah, who acts quickly to get her the critical medical assistance she needs. A private chat with Deborah provides Irene with comfort once she comes to. Irene shares the fleeting yet priceless memories she cherishes in this intimate moment as she opens up about her mother. Their conversation not only makes them closer, but it also gives Irene more will to confront the evil that endangers not just their lives, but also their very existence. The two sisters discover strength in one another through their shared resiliency and suffering, and they move forth with a revitalized sense of purpose, prepared to face any evil forces that may arise. A rising sense of worrying descends upon him too, as they both realize how close the evil force has been. Madame Laurent, in the meantime, enters the chapel by herself out of curiosity and worrying. She's intrigued to learn the truth after hearing about Sophie's unpleasant experience. She is plagued by vivid illusions in the chapel's faint light. Her son Cedric stands before her in a ghostly form, his voice resonating through the hallowed room. She doesn't realize it's Cedric, but rather Valak's cunning enticement taking advantage of her defenseless situation. Madame Laurent unfortunately falls into the evil trap that Valak has devised. The evil force takes advantage of the situation, capturing her in its terrifying hold and killing her in an instant. Her death's echoes resonate through the deserted chapel, a sobering reminder of the evil that lurks in the shadows and grows more powerful by the hour. The nuns travel to Avignon, a historic city, in their unwavering quest for knowledge, and they tour the impressive Palais des Papes. They delve into the murky history of Valak in this talk with an informed librarian. An awful fact is revealed by the librarian. A holy relic called the Eyes, which was formerly owned by Saint Lucy, the brave martyr who astonishingly lived to be burned, is what Valak is chasing. It becomes clear as the librarian tells their story that St. Lucy's own ancestors were among the victims of this evil force. The eyes, which are thought to have great power, were last mentioned in historical accounts in a monastery. Strangely, this very monastery has evolved into a boarding school throughout time, and the nuns are currently involved in a frightening conflict with evil powers. But now that they know this, sisters Irene and Deborah understand how serious their situation is. In order to prepare for the wicked Valak and prevent the artifact from slipping into the hands of pure evil, the investigators' probe is further complicated by the connection that exists between the victims, the item, and the boarding school. Against all odds, Irene and Deborah bravely enter the school in the midst of the mayhem with the goal of finding and seizing the Eyes, a potent relic before Valak can do further damage. When the evil force enters, it transforms Frenchie into a dark vessel and summons a horrific demon goat to attack the nuns and the terrified students. Irene heroically defends Sophie from the demonic assault as it starts, and Deborah and Kate find themselves in the protective care of a bigger group of girls. Valak commands the demon goat to assume the eerie appearance of Madame Laurent, scaring the girls as it pursues them with a relentlessness that plays on their fears. Fortunately, despite all of the mayhem and devastation, none of the girls are harmed by the crumbling bell tower. Irene finds Morris under the evil grip of Valak's spell at the pivotal encounter. Irene is resolute in her quest to rid her buddy of Valak by harnessing the power of the Eyes, the holy relic. Arriving barely in time, Deborah fights alongside Irene against the demonic force. After a terrifying struggle, it appears that Valak has defeated Morris and left him unconscious. Heartbroken, Irene starts to mourn her companion. However, in an unexpected twist of fate, Morris resurrects and becomes a receptacle for Valak's real, horrific form. The demon nun tries to envelop Irene in flames after being healed by fury and darkness. But then something unexpected comes to light. Saint Lucy, the victim to whom the Eyes belonged, is the ancestor of Irene. In a surprising twist of events, Irene is shielded from the demon's flaming attack by her ancestry. Irene, encouraged by Deborah, calls on the power of prayer with renewed vigor. Their fervent and devout prayers result in a supernatural intervention. The room's wine turns into the hallowed blood of Christ, and the barrels holding this holy concoction burst, covering Valak in the divine essence. Valak finds the supernatural intervention to be too much. Valak is prevented from entangling Morris. With the help of St. Lucy's miraculous legacy, Irene, Deborah, and their unwavering faith and courage, the demon is vanquished and sent back to the depths of hell. The darkness vanishes when the war is over, leaving the school and its people in a condition of unsettling quiet. The last vestiges of the paranormal conflict vanish like a far-off nightmare. There is relief among Morris, Kate, and Sophie upon their reunion, a return to something like normalcy. Irene is relieved to have her friend back, but she can't get rid of the concern that remains in her eyes. Their experiences have scarred them, serving as a constant reminder of the evil that exists just beneath the surface of reality. To ensure you never miss any updates on new videos, kindly click the bell icon, subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching.